Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen show where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 164, a Zuper integration, recorded on Friday, September 17th, 2021. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, we've got a light news week, but a bit of a surprise on our Q&A at the end of the show. So I think that's going to hopefully make this a little bit longer. As always, we'll start off with events. We've got our upcoming webinar. It is going to be on Zoho PageSense, and that is going to be on Tuesday, September 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's been interesting digging back into that, Tyler, and kind of just, we do those infrequently. We do them for ourselves, and we have an entire web team that does most of them now. But going in and looking at the features, I think it's going to be a good webinar and hopefully one everybody will enjoy. And as always, if you want to know about any of the events that are going on, not just over here at Zenatta or CRM Zen, but across the entire Zoho world, just head over to zenatta.com, click on our events tab, and everything is there. So Zoho's got one coming up on client scripts, and target and engage mobile app users with MobileSteam. I haven't seen MobileSteam talked about in a very long time. Anyway, a whole bunch of interesting webinars. If we can find them, we'll put them over here. So if it exists in the world of Zoho, just stop by that events page and hopefully we'll have something that you're looking for. All right. And with that, let's get into the news. All right. So first up, Zoho is going to hire 2,000 people in rural offices, the bulk of which will be over in India, but they're going to go everywhere. So oftentimes companies make this announcement, we're going to hire 2,000 more employees, but this one is, we're going to hire 2,000 employees by the end of the year. The interesting thing is they're already at 10,000 globally in this article. I think the last time we checked in, it was 9.
Yeah, like 885, right around 9. That was about a year ago, I think, last time I saw a number pop up.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. So anyway, it is they're just doing this whole thing. They're going to just basically take these little rural offices, have 20 to 60 people in them, and just kind of disperse their entire global workforce. It's a pretty nice article. It's interesting. I don't know if this was truly planned. Sridhar talks in here. I'll take his word for it. But he said he planned on doing this long before COVID hit. But they bought 350 acres in Austin, Texas to build a massive office complex just before COVID hit. So I don't know what's what, but I do think for a company like Zoho, for companies like ours, for a lot of companies, this whole dispersed rural office thing works really, really well.
And I think it's part of their long-term goal for, I think the term they use is transnational localism.
Yep.
Basically just this idea that if you're a SaaS company or you're a tech company, you don't need to host your offices in urban city centers, like in the Bay Area and the Pleasanton or, Silicon Valley, or in these areas where cost of living is going to be significantly higher for your employees. And so they've kind of put their money where their mouth is in terms of building out these rural offices, kind of with like a hub and spoke model, where you might have a large campus and then all around that you would have these smaller offices that are a little closer to where people live. Yeah. So really cool. I mean, definitely makes the company a little bit more robust and resilient to things like a pandemic. If you're already used to being kind of spread out and, not all going into a large central location, there's definitely some advantages.
Yeah. He also notes in here that the bucket, for those of you that don't know, that's basically Zoho's huge office that they've got in Chennai there, is currently only running at 10% occupancy. So it's a little low, where all of his little, his rural centers are at 40 to 50%, right? But the big one, which I think housed several thousand people, is really low. So it's a good strategy. And I'm glad to see Zoho is hiring, hopefully in tech support, because that is desperately needed right now. All right. Azure DevOps extension is added to Zoho Sprints. Talk to me about this.
So yeah, Azure DevOps is kind of like a project management tool that you may use for carrying out your kind of back-end app development processes. But, you might also enjoy using the interface of Zoho Sprints, kind of managing things in terms of your epics and stories and all the various tasks and dependencies. And really what this does is it basically just connects the like commit update functionality of Zoho Sprints over to your actual development environment in Azure. So you're kind of tying things a little bit closer together, right? Where oftentimes you've got a task inside of a project management tool, and then you've got the actual place where all the software is being developed and deployed, and there isn't really a connection between the two. So this is in essence just a way to connect in one way, shape, or form your actual development environment to the software tool that you're using to manage those tasks and action items that you're working on.
Nice. I have nothing to say about that.
Yep. Nice one to have if you are on Azure and using Zoho Sprints, definitely check it out. But it's one of those niche ones where, you really have to be all in on both of those tools to really get value from that.
I feel that like occasionally we get these little updates and they are for someone, right? Some enterprise company was using Sprints. They're also a Microsoft house, so they're on Azure, and that has to be it. Probably something that I would guess that, what is it? Latazon, what's the name of that has the Jira? I would imagine Jira has that kind of support, right?
Yep.
And so consequently, Zoho needs it as well. All right. I was going to ignore this story because it actually happened last week. We talked about it internally quite a bit, but it's not going away. And there's some articles, and this is an article that actually was put out today, and it's by InfoSec. And if you're not familiar with the InfoSec group, they're the real deal when it comes to information security. And basically the US government, CISA, if you're not familiar, it's a cybersecurity and infrastructure agency, has put out a critical vulnerability alert for Zoho's ManageEngine. So ManageEngine is their remote management service, basically remote device management, mobile device management, all those kind of things. And it's there is an API flaw that Zoho has patched, and they patched it all the way back on the 6th when this first hit. But it's critical enough that it needs to get done because it is an active vulnerability from what we are reading here.
And basically what it sounds like is that with this vulnerability, you can basically enable some remote code execution. I think the big area, at least that this article highlights, is that a decent number of people use ManageEngine in congruence with something like Active Directory.
Yep.
And so once someone is in your ManageEngine, they might have the ability to access Active Directory data and kind of move laterally through ManageEngine to another application where it might already have secure credentials and like a scoped API connection.
Yes.
So definitely something to be aware of. Technically now ManageEngine is a separate company from Zoho, but it is kind of owned and operated by them. But they operate independently. We haven't seen anything or heard anything of any similar exploits inside of any Zoho applications, but we will be the first to let you know if we see anything pop up on any of these sites.
Yeah, it's interesting though. This came up. The name escapes me, but one of the big RMA tools that was out there that basically got exploited here just recently. It was a massive one. These tools are out there connecting to all your devices, and they have good access to all of your devices in order to push updates and push patches and those kind of things. And, by getting an attack made on one of these and an exploit on one of these RMAs, tough. It's it definitely you can easily exploit large numbers of systems, in mass. All right, we will move on with that PSA. And really, this was such a slow news week, so we're just going to cover some of the update newsletters. Zoho people, Tyler, we always talk about this one of the better newsletters that Zoho puts out. And they've actually got a webinar coming up introducing Zoho People Plus. I don't know if we've got that added to our list, but we certainly need it there. Nothing.
A new bundle. Why not?
I know. I think we've talked about everything on this list already.
Yeah, I do want to highlight a couple things that they noted on their roadmap here. So they're going to actually be working on biometric device integration. So if you do want to take an extra level of security on any of your employees' devices, being able to clock in, clock out, or access any employment files, definitely a nice thing to have. Then one little minor one is they're going to be building some additional surveying tools within Zoho People. So you're able to kind of check your employees' opinions of how you're doing on different axes.
Nice. So I had an epiphany about Zoho People the other day. So Zoho People Mark, product management team, if you're listening, here's what I'm thinking, Tyler. The thing about Zoho People is it is so robust. It has so many features. It is so deep. It's got so many menu items. I think what you need to do is there needs to be a back end setting where you only turn on what you're going to use. And then the menus simplify to that level. What do you think?
Yeah, kind of similar to the CRM, right? When you take the CRM out of the box, it's got quotes and it's got price lists. Right. It's got a lot of things that you very well might not use. And you're able to just systematically turn all of those off and reactivate them if you need them later. Right. It's not a bad idea because we do see that people use a couple of the different features inside of People. But like you're saying, it's just it's so functional, but it's just kind of a beast to work with because there's so many menus upon menus in there.
Yeah, very, very it's easy to get lost. It's like you walk into one of those hedge mazes, and after a little while, you can't even remember where the menu items are. So I don't know. That's really my only complaint around People Plus is let's simplify that, get some time tracking in there a little more. But anyway, good job on Zoho People. And I'm curious as to what the People Plus launch is going to look like as well. All right. And moving right along, more Zoho People. It's the August updates. So this is basically everything that happened in the world of Zoho People last month. Again, I think we got all of these, Tyler. I don't know.
I think so.
If there was anything here that jumped out that we missed from our previous shows.
Nothing in particular.
Yeah. They did some more stuff with the Zoho Learn built into Zoho People, the LMS inside Zoho People. Made some more information around getting detailed information on courses. That's kind of a small one. Track location from which your employees log time. I think we covered that on the timesheet. So anyway, Zoho People continues to improve. That team is definitely hard at work. I mean, this is one of those we see a lot of. It seems like, every month we've got several updates on there. And then we'll have the Zoho Mail Q2, Q3 roundup. This is part one of it. Again, I think we've got all these as well. The additional security, HIPAA compliance we put in there, the all-new Zoho Mail admin console. I guess we're really going back because that's been around now for several months if you haven't looked at that. But that's kind of it. I don't know. Really slow news week, guys. Very, very little going on in the world of Zoho this week. I'm not sure why. But with that, Tyler, let's go on to the implementation of the week.
Yes, this is kind of an interesting one. This is one that one of our developers submitted to us last week. And what's the saying? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're doing something wrong. That would apply here because they submitted it and I didn't even really understand what they had done. So this week I had a chance to actually talk through and get brought up to speed on exactly what this function was doing and where the value is. And it's pretty cool. So
in front of the entire team.
Yeah, in front of the entire team, I had this explained to me, get brought to the 21st century here. Basically what this is a pathway to build custom integrations into Zoho Analytics, all just running things via scheduled Deluge functions. So Zoho Analytics has a ton of pre-built connectors, but it doesn't have a connector for everything, right? There's just too many apps out there in the world that they can't build one for every single tool. It does also have the ability to set up what you'd call like a JSON feed where it can make some bulk GET calls into custom systems. But we've found that tool, it doesn't work on everything. You'll find applications where the format in which Zoho Analytics will make its like default API call to get data does not match with how that system expects calls to come in. But the nice thing is as long as an application has a REST API and we're able to get credentials and the scope, then we can actually still access that data just via custom Deluge functions. So basically what we did in this use case is we spun up a little scheduled function that lives in the CRM. You could also do the same thing inside of Creator. The idea with that being is that the scheduled function doesn't actually touch anything in the CRM. It's just where it lives because they have an easy way to schedule functions there. And basically what it's doing is you go ahead and hit that third-party API. You can grab a big old list of data in JSON or like a CSV that you can carry across using Deluge. And then you can just hit an endpoint inside of Zoho Analytics and add, update, or push new data into a predefined table in analytics. A lot of different ways that this can look. Specifically in this case, I think Greg let me know they found it was most efficient to get a CSV from the data source and carry that through the function into analytics, mostly just because there was so much data in this particular case that it was more efficient to get a CSV every day and pull that across. But if you're working with a smaller data set, you could just push the data directly in just as JSON formatted parameters and values. But the cool thing here is just that, it basically proves a use case that if it's got a REST API, you very likely can get that data into Zoho Analytics just using a little bit of custom code.
So no connector whatsoever. Just hit the API, grab the payload. A lot of parsing on the back end, though. Yeah, add it to a table in analytics. The cool thing about doing it this way, though, is that you could actually do some data transformation inside of Deluge before it gets to analytics. So if you wanted to proper case everything in a certain column, or if you wanted to run a function where you look at the company name and you get the Zoho account ID and kind of add it to that table so that you can join stuff later really cleanly. There's a lot that you can do with this if you are connecting to a tool that isn't directly available via one of Zoho's integrations. I will say in general, if it is there in Zoho's pre-built connections, go ahead and use those. It's just going to be the easiest way to get this set up. But if you're seeing that an application that you use isn't supported directly in analytics and it has an API, this is a pathway you can use to go ahead and get that data into your reporting suite. Nice. Nice. Yeah. I mean, he was excited about this. It was, it was interesting to see how this all came together.
And it was nice too, because Zoho Analytics actually just recently released their V2 API, which Greg let us know is just leaps and bounds easier to work with than their V1 API. Like the number of lines required to add some data went from 60 down to 10. Just a lot less stuff that you have to pass along with your data to get it into the right place.
Nice. All right. And that brings us to this week's read. This is one of my favorite reads of the year so far. Dave Fish, who is over with, let me see what company old Dave is with here. He is with Curiosity CX. He's the founder of Curiosity CX, basically on customer experience. He has written an article for Customer Think called Surfing, Monkeys, and Why You Can't Design Experiences. And it is a very long read, a very good read. And I don't even know where to start with this article. It's so well written. But, one of the things he talks about here is his family is on vacation in, I don't know if it was Belize or Costa Rica. And they go into basically to look at their property. And as the person shows them their property, which they look at, which is basically a shack where they're going to be living for the next 10 days, before they could get upset about that, they got pointed out to all the other pretty things. And basically taken, but look at this and look at that, look at this. And it talks about, you can try to design a customer experience, but things may always go different directions. So you actually have to build this process to kind of take everything into account. And it's an interesting read, well written, and I think well worth taking a look at.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one. You can never really understand or predict exactly how someone's going to interact with your product or interact with your website or your team members. So it's a good read just about trying to build a framework that you can use to learn from customers and how to best suit them and, create positive experiences.
Right. Anyway, great article. Well written, by the way. So a great job, Dave Fish and Customer Think. I don't hit this site enough. If you're unfamiliar with it, customerthink.com. Lots of great articles around client experiences and CRMs. It's a good resource. I think we probably pull one a month out of here, but I like them a lot. So go ahead and check them out. All right. And that takes us to our pick of the week. I'm going with Zuper. This has come up quite a bit lately in a lot of people I've talked to. So this is a field services management platform. Zoho released an FSM earlier this year and then yanked it back because it had problems. It was supposed to be released already. It's not going to be released for quite a while. This is an interesting company in that I've just had a lot of people come to me who use this one. It's basically rising to the top of the pack as far as FSMs go. It's all they do. It's all they focus on. Interestingly, the company's out of Seattle, Washington, but that's kind of like Zoho being out of Pleasanton, California. They're really out of Chennai. And it's basically that's where they're at. And they, not Zoho, not a third-party person, but Zuper has built the integration for Zoho CRM. And they have done an amazing job with this integration.
So they've done a Zuper job on it.
They've done it's a Zuper job. Yeah. So I guess if you start a company out of Chennai, it has to start with the letter Z.
Seems to be that way.
Zoho Zuper Zoho. Anyway, if you go to their homepage, they really, like the second part down, they just talk about their integration with Zoho. So if you're looking for field services management, you're tired of waiting for Zoho's FSM, which if history proves is going to be a year or two before it's really ready for prime time, right? I mean, this looks like it's out of the gate, about $25 per user. It's got everything ready to go, 14-day free trial, and the integration is exceptional. So that's Zuper for Zoho CRM and Zuper Field Service Management. Anything on that?
No, I think you covered it.
That's about it. It's funny though. I don't know. I was talking to the team. We're not getting a whole lot of people asking about FSM. And I think the reason is lately when I've been talking to people about it, it's like, well, no, there's nothing here. And I don't know. I mean, did you follow the latest on when Zoho's going to get their FSM re-released?
No, I haven't seen it. And I know another partner, ZBrains, has a pretty good kind of third-party plugin for Zoho for managing field services as well. So historically, generally, when people have come with us with these requests, we've referred them over there because they kind of have a lot of domain expertise. But this looks like this will be another option too that still has a pretty tight integration to Zoho.
Yes, it will. All right. And that brings us to our tip of the week. Setting up calendar booking inside of Zoho CRM. So if you're not familiar, you know that there is the app called Bookings, Zoho Bookings. It's like a Calendly. It's got some issues we don't quite recommend. The interesting thing is there's also, you can set up a booking link inside of Zoho CRM. It's kind of hidden. And so this is a quick little 4-minute tutorial. It shows you how to get it, how to get the link, how to set it up, how to build it. The crazy thing about it is it's got native like GoToMeeting and native Zoom integration, right? It's like built in GoToMeeting and Zoom integration that you can just connect with it right there. So it's if you want to know more about that, you just basically head on over to our YouTube channel and it's going to be one of our top uploads. It's also in our tips and tricks. So head on over there and check it out. We set that much for people at all, Tyler?
Not too much. Generally, it's a little limited in features. So if you're doing a lot with your booking tool, you're going to want an Acuity or Calendly. But it is a quick way. Like it's useful. Maybe you're running like a sales organization and they really just need a quick down and dirty way to get someone on their calendar. This is a pretty nice way to do it. And it's not going to add any extra cost. Not that Calendly or Acuity is crazy expensive, like $6, $7 a month. But every dollar counts. And this is a totally functional way to do that.
All right, so let's move on to our Q&A. We are doing something different. We're actually going to save up all of the questions that come in over on YouTube, and as well as the ones that you guys ask who are part of the live show. And we're going to kind of run through these. All right, so Tyler Clay Good asks, can we copy and paste tasks from another month to a new month in Zoho projects?
Not quite, but you can create task list templates that you can pull in dynamically. So if you knew that you needed to repeat a certain set of tasks, periodically throughout a year, you'd want to set them up as a task list template. And then anytime you're in a specific project, in the top right, if you go to add a task list, you can choose to add one from a template and it'll pull that in. A couple limitations with them I will highlight. Unfortunately, you can't set up dependencies in a task list. You can in a project template, but not in a task list. So there's a couple little oddball things with them. But it would be a quick way to say, hey, I want to grab these 12 tasks. I'm going to start them today. Here's all their due dates, right? And you can kind of repeat that month over month.
All right. And then Tim Edlin also has a Zoho projects question. Thanks for making the video excellent content. Why, of course. Why else would we do it, Tim? They've got a Zoho One subscription to use CRM Desk and Projects. With the Connect app, they wonder if you could clarify. On the task page, we see Zoho Projects and Zoho CRM section, but not a desk section. Is there something special we have to do to make the Zoho Desk task accessible? Wow. This is our unified task thing we've talked about forever, although I thought projects had the ability to pull in desk tasks. Does it not?
Well, so this is specifically for
Connect,
Zoho Connect. Zoho
Connect.
Projects will pull in Zoho Desk issues if you send them over from Desk. To my knowledge, I had always thought that Connect did pull in those desk tasks. Let me double check.
I'm checking it out right now. I got it right here. I think because we actually used Connect for the longest time as an overall task management, right? And so
did.
Yeah, it's all there. So yeah, it's not really unified, but if you go into My Tasks, you have to go to one by one. So you can go to Connect, CRM, Project, Desk, and Mail. So they are all there, but they're not going to appear in one list, I guess, if that's what he's thinking about, huh?
There might be some settings under personal settings as well to enable those for yourself.
Turn them on.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at my tasks, oddly enough, I actually don't see Zoho Desk tasks. So it could be there's a couple little settings that you might have to activate behind the scenes on that.
Yeah. And I think one of the things he's talking about is getting it into a Kanban view as well.
Yeah, part 2 here in the all tasks. The tricky thing with that, Tim, is the reason that they don't have that in a Kanban is that technically all of those different tasks correspond to like different statuses and different dates. So it pulls them in all in their own separate tables, and then it can kind of line them up for you cleanly in terms of a list view. But it struggles to consolidate all the different sources onto just one simple Kanban board.
Because you basically could have different stages for all of your tasks or different dispositions for all of your tasks conceivably. So
yeah, and I will say too, one thing to keep an eye on, it's in early access and testing right now. So hopefully we're allowed to say this. If not, I guess no one will hear me. They are also working on Zoho Tasks, which is kind of a place where they're going to be expanding some of this functionality, pulling in CRM, Desk, Projects. Right now, I will say it's not much different than the Connect tasking, but I know they've got some grand ambitions there. So something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. All righty. And then moving on with the questions this week. Zoho Books doesn't appear to have cost centers, but they do appear to have tags in lieu thereof. Yes, that is correct. So most people work in QuickBooks. You can assign a transaction to a cost center. Basically, all you have to do in Zoho Books is set up tags. And you can have tags and subtags, so you can actually have a category of tags, then subtags under that. There's a lot you can do with it, and it's what you have to do if you want to get some detailed reporting, similar to cost center reporting. So fairly straight away, and you can pull all that into analytics, Tyler. And you can filter it inside of the Books reports, but I think most people are going to want to pull that into analytics and get the kind of reporting they're going to want to do if you're using cost centers. So yes, David Van Brecht, you have that correct. All righty. And then a couple more from our Connect webinar. We had a couple questions. Tyler, you want to take the first one?
Sure. So can it be that Workplace is kind of the new Zoho Connect and Connect will disappear in the future? Not quite. So Workplace is like a product bundle, right? That contains a whole different set of products. So things like Click, Connect, WorkDrive, Mail. It's kind of like if you were to get like a G Suite login, that's going to give you access to all those basic office tools and, a couple extra, bells and whistles. So Workplace is definitely not going to replace Zoho Connect. I believe it does include it in terms of getting things kind of all onto one screen. So, your apps, your data, login, meetings, projects. Connect may be the place to do that if your projects are simple, but unfortunately, different Zoho apps kind of specialize in different things, right? So if you need digital meetings, you're going to need to use Zoho Meetings. If you've got like long form project management, you're going to want to do that in Zoho Projects. So unfortunately, they don't kind of have a silver bullet to manage everything all in one place, but you can pull in a lot of the things that you're working on into Connect for some visibility. Then in terms of storing data files directly into WorkDrive from Zoho Connect, I do not believe you can do that, Brett. Do you know differently? I think that's kind of separate right now.
It is. It is at this point in time. Also, I do, to the centralized workplace, I started playing around. So Zoho, if you're familiar with CRM Plus, they've kind of got a unified interface for all the apps. Zoho One has one that's been in beta that is actually starting to roll out to some people. It appears they're looking for you may be able to do a unified dashboard. So when you go to the main Zoho One, you're actually not in settings when you go to Zoho One. You're kind of in a dashboard. It's not quite there yet, but it seems you could build a dashboard there that is pulling in elements from all of the different apps. You could, of course, do that in Connect as well, right? But, or I'm sorry, you could do that in Analytics as well, but it would be, we may get there. Who knows? All right. And then also asking, this is the Connect WorkDrive. I don't know, Tyler. I don't
believe there's a direct tie-in. No.
Not even with any scripting you could do to do that?
No, not to give it like a user interface in Connect.
Yeah. All righty. Moving on with the questions here. Renzo Egas asks about Ring Central and Zoho. Hey, do you know how to send SMS text automatically in Zoho through Ring Central when a new lead is created in Zoho? I heard something about create a workflow. Oh, yes, there are so many ways you can do this.
Automatically send a text. You could just write a little bit of custom code.
So Ring Central calling on the flow?
Yeah. So you could just say anytime a lead is created, post a webhook to Flow with their name or whatever link you want to send them. And then Flow could just go ahead and send the text out for you.
Okay. But if you want that to come from individual users you'd have in the organization,
you have to assign logic inside of the Flow.
Could do that.
Yeah.
That'd be easy. All righty. And moving on, this is about which Zoho bundle is right for you. The free Zoho apps can always be used with the bundles. Yes, all of the free apps are always part of all the bundles. And then we're also asked, I have Zoho One, but I'm now hiring employees. Can I then have Zoho One myself and Zoho Workplace for my employees? No, you cannot. This is one of the things about Zoho One. Zoho One has either an all-employee option or an a la carte option. So basically, and the prices are dramatically different. It's about 60% cheaper if you're taking the all-employee option. It's $45 per employee per month as opposed to $105. Difference is you have 100 employees and you only want 10 people that really need the functionality of Zoho One. Then you can basically buy it just for just those 10 and pay $105 per employee. Or you could put all 100 employees on and pay the $45 per month and pay that fee. But once you have Zoho One, your ability to kind of pick and choose and add applications goes away. Even, I believe, on the a la carte option. Correct, Tyler? Because you've got that, you're having to add it all in.
Well, it would get a little bit messy. I think technically you could have people on different licenses if you were on the a la carte Zoho One plan, but it would just get a little tricky to manage, I would say, in terms of like permissioning all of the employees through your Zoho One login might get a little messy.
Yeah. So you couldn't just give them Workplace. It wouldn't work. This becomes a big thing with people. So, if you want Zoho People and you're on Zoho One, basically you have to add all of your employees in, period. Mm-hmm. You can't just have kind of an a la carte version of that as well. But you could do something similar, save a lot of money. You could do CRM Plus and then start a la carting some applications on top of that. That would probably be a more cost-effective way to go, depending on what you're using. That's kind of why we did the Bundles app, this little overview on bundles, because you get so many different ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then we have a Zoho integrating Shopify with Zoho. Can I use a custom price list for products in Shopify? We sell wholesale, but Shopify we need retail prices.
No, not to my knowledge. It's going to pull from the default price that's on a product that's within inventory. I will say, interestingly enough, Zoho Commerce can actually kind of manage this in an interesting way. So if someone logs into Zoho Commerce and you have it set up kind of as like a portal for your books and inventory customers, if they're associated to a price list, it will actually change the price that they see on Zoho Commerce. We've tinkered around with that a little bit, it does have some restrictions, but unfortunately, I don't know of a way to kind of manage custom price list if you are on Shopify and inventory.
All right. And before we wrap it up, we do have a question from the chat room. Peter asked, have you tried adding a large-scale Biggin group, 100 plus salespeople attached to a Zoho One hub? We have not. I mean, we have done, I guess, large-scale Biggin to CRM integration. A little tricky. You have to make sure that all of your stages and deals are lined up perfectly. You kind of want to get those dialed in ahead of time. You want to create them in Biggin first. And I haven't had any trouble with that. I actually use Biggin all the time on my phone, tied into our main CRM. I'm not sure what we mean by a Zoho One hub. I mean,
yeah, I think the trick is if you did have 100 users on Biggin and you wanted to upgrade to Zoho One, all 100 would need to be on the Zoho One license. So you kind of need to roll everybody over to that license plan from Biggin if you're using that exclusively right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I guess I see what the question is. They're kind of tied into the previous one we had around and doing that. Yeah. I mean, with Zoho One, you're buying a license for everybody, period. That's it. I mean, I guess you'd have to break it down to CRM Plus or something, or just CRM, and then do the Biggin for just the salespeople. I mean, that's the model I see. But what we've been doing it, I think, is just great. You're on Zoho One, but you only want your salespeople to use Biggin. That seems to be most of the use cases for that. So, all right, Tyler. And with that, that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody so much for listening to us this week. If you have any questions or comments, head on over to zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.